Okay, we have a guy. We have this dude. He's...
Hi, dude.
Oh, no, there you go. Okay, I was muted on the stream side. So I was talking about a topic that I think you could find interesting. Well, many really. Choose one. I'm gonna tell you some. Um, animals eating their own species. People eating their spiritual animal, or if they're furries, their avatar. For example, if you ate a red panda. Or
Nope.
cryogenization. Which one do you want? Which one do you prefer?
I'd much rather cryogenics.
You must. Okay, so you know the concept of it in people?
Yeah.
Like when you die, they preserve your brain. Well, for $80K they preserve your brain. For 200K they preserve your whole body. Uh,
It's
yeah.
as it is right now. It's just an expensive burial. You're not coming back from that.
From what I know, I could be wrong. It depends. From what I heard, as I say, if it depends on the method used or the company. So there's some that just freeze you, and then there's no way to come back. Okay, I think that's better volume. Machine the chat confirm me. So the thing is, from what I know, some methods, what they do is like preserve the brain in its exact state and get like a 3D model of it. So like they could use that brain to restore it when there's technology for that in the future. Do you think that's true, or is like a scam?
So, man, this is rough. So,
Yeah.
I think, as far as the brain is concerned, do you know how quantum computers work?
Yeah. It's
So
like.
it basically saves data by having, like, the smallest forms of matter in superposition, right? But the
Mhm.
problem is that when you read the data, it's gone because superposition. It's Schrodinger's cat, right? The second you open the box, you can't undo the knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So
but then
until the
it's.
box is opened, the cat is both dead and alive at the same time. But when you open it, it's dead or alive, one of those states, and that's it.
So what I believe is that they won't just open it or try to do anything with it until there's like a safe method to access to that box, the brain in this case. Mm,
Yeah, what I'm getting at more is, I think, like, no one knows how the brain actually works, right? Like, we can say that, oh, chemicals and electrical signals, yada
mm,
yada, right? But the problem is I don't believe, what I'm trying to get at is, like, I the way I think it works is, I think the second you read the data, you changed the data, right? So, like, there's no way to tell that, like, let's say someone could actually map your brain in a way that would log data, right? Not just how your brain looks, chemically, right? And uh, by the atom, right? But, like, the data that is stored there is the important part, right? It's not so much the meat, right? But let's just assume that they can record it in a way that they could restore you. If they're going to restore you, if, right, like, huge if,
if.
um, they would have to recreate a new brain to write you to, because the current technology that I'm aware of, right? The current technology that I'm aware of, there is no way to non-destructively preserve living tissue long term.
Let's suppose
Like,
we're. Oh yeah, continue.
when you freeze something, the moisture in it crystallizes, and that basically stabs billions of needles through everything, tearing up the tissue. So you would have to, like, preserve or pre-flush the entire system, replacing water with some kind of solution that doesn't crystallize at the temperatures required to preserve the material, which again is damaging itself. Because then, if let's say they wanted to revive you, they would have to flush all of that
Hmm.
and replace it with, water. But the water would freeze and crystallize because, you have to be at a certain temperature to preserve this before we try to kickstart you again. So like there's a bunch of, and again, I'm
Yeah.
not an expert on it. I just know some of the mechanics of what's required, and it makes it really difficult.
So it doesn't help that the companies really don't publish too much the results, or I mean there are like I think 400 people already creating it, but like I don't doubt that most of them can be recovered, or at least repairing the damage could take like maybe centuries. But I don't know, I feel because I read that they found a way. There was like the technical explanation. I really don't remember it because it was too technical. That they found a way to preserve the brain exactly how it is, without changing its state, but without damaging it. I don't remember really the way. So, do you think it's most likely a scam?
I don't think it's a scam. I think it's theoretical along the lines of there's going to have to be a massive like for instance, I'll give you a for instance, right? So traveling near speed of light is totally possible, right? You only need the entirety of the output of our star to get there. Now,
I was gonna say that.
oh, what?
I was gonna say that. Um, so I feel every problem in science could be solved in a way if people discover how to travel a lot faster than light. But I don't know if it will make too much sense. Well, it kind of changed of topic, but I feel you will find it interesting. It's like, okay, so if you put a telescope very far from a place, you can see the past because the light takes time to travel like that. So what if
Yep.
what if humanity finds something faster than light? So it could be like kind of like a time machine if they could find a telescope, send it incredibly far away, and then return it to the Earth with the data that it has from the past. And well, so far, what do you think?
Well, like I was saying, as far as the reason why I was bringing up light travel, traveling near speed of light is possible, is because it's not. Like you need the output of an entire star, because the faster you make a thing move, the heavier it gets. The heavier it gets, the more power you need. It's multiplicative, right? So by the time you start approaching an appreciable like percentage of c, which is the speed of light, you need so much more energy to like go faster than that. It's kind of like why it's why cars that go really fast or similar. It's a similar thing to the way the cars that go really fast, right? In order to get to 180 miles an hour, it takes like 300 to 400 horsepower, right? But to go 200 miles per hour, you need like another 600 horsepower, right? Because you're fighting physics.
So it's
So
not
like,
theoretically possible even.
yeah, in theory, you can travel the speed of light, right?
No, but more than light.
Like,
In this example, it will be more than light.
I don't think that's possible. I don't think physically traveling faster than light's possible. I think what's going to end up happening, like when we do get there, if we get there, I should say if, haha. If we get there, I think FTL is going to be folding space. So like
What is
you don't so you imagine, so you know how mass bends gravity or bends space-time?
Yeah. Well, I heard of it.
And
No, don't know the specific, but I know the concept.
okay, so mass can fold space-time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're assuming that we have infinite energy, right?
Yeah.
So you could fake mass in front of an object, right?
Yeah.
And let's say if you used the mass to bend space and then travel across it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that means that the other side of that bent space is going to be closer to you apparently than it is physically, because when you unbend space, Like let's say a mile, right? So if the thing you want to get at's a mile away from you, and you bend space time between you and that object, it's now half a mile, right? So if you jump that gap, you've traveled, and then turn off, and then turn off the let's call it a gravity wave, right? And you turn off this gravity wave, you now have traveled a mile in the time it took you to travel half a mile. And if you just repeat that, right, you will jump. You're folding space to get a farther distance than you would,
You say
right?
jump in your timing.
Jump as in, while you've created this gravitational anomaly, you're traveling over the space that's bent or through the space that's bent. There's also the idea of moving space around you versus moving through space, which could be a loophole to faster than light travel, because technically you're not moving, technically space is warping around you, but again, to do things like this are theoretically possible, but the amount of energy required to do so is a stupendous amount of energy.
So it will not be theoretically possible to do, like, as I said, send a telescope somewhere really far away to see the past, and then even because this goes even crazier. From that, like a telescope that can see atoms, particles. So scientists could find the particles that used to be part of a brain before someone died, and be able to put them together. That's like, I'm not talking about possible. I'm talking about theoretical.
That would require space-time coordinates. So you would need to know, in what space at what time the object you're trying to see occupied X space, right? So if you had some pre-thought to it, right? Like, let's say we know the technology is going to exist, right? Mm-hmm. So then we'll say you're going to be at these exact coordinates, right? Which again is really hard because our planet is moving through space in an orbit around our star, and our star is moving through space in concert with our local group. So, like, in order to look back at that point to then scan the brain, you would have to know where in space-time the person was, right, for duration. So you would have to map where would your relative position be or have been, say, 10 years ago, right? Like that would be hard. Like that would be really hard. That's why time travel is weird, right? Because like if you were to travel through time, and this is something no time travel anything talks about, right? Like if you say, I want to go back 100 years, right? And you go back 100 years and you explode because you're in the vacuum of space. 100 years ago, we were not in the same location, in space that we are now. The planet wouldn't be there, the sun wouldn't be there, like that's the whole haha about it. We're not stationary. So, like, relatively speaking, I think we're traveling something like 23,000 miles per hour or some shit through space. Like, so if you take that and then you multiply over time 100 years, we're way away from where we were 100 years ago. If you wanted to see, say, the beginning of the beginning of the Great Depression or something, right?
Or to revive Michael Jackson.
Yeah, or that. Like, we'd have to figure out, okay, cool, where was Michael Jackson?
That's what they will do. Like, the first thing they will do if this became hypothetically possible.
Right, but how are you going to reach, I don't know, several astronomical units away to scan it? Because like I said, we're all moving away from the point that, like, let me look it up, because I'll tell you how far away Michael Jackson would be, right?
Yeah, 2009. So do you know the LK99? Okay, in the meantime, responding to the chat. So, like I said, that was gonna be the last attempt. It just became very long. I closed the game, and Capon will continue working after he rests in like few minutes.
Holy shit. Okay, so
So reminder for the chat. This is Al Capone. He's like
hello.
he was in I think one or two of the first episodes of the Foreign Night that he never appeared again, but he knows a lot about topics including politics and how to make bombs. You can't deny that. Or was it methamphetamine? Well, whatever. Um, so he's the one that had the I think Red Panda in VRChat. So, but one thing, I'm understanding your explanation, but let's say theoretically, let's say humans reach perfection as much as they can in theoretical aspect, which is obviously impossible. Do they like in that case? In that case, no, not in that case. Like theoretically, strictly theoretically, would it be even possible? Like not about the practice, but about strictly theoretically.
Sorry, 1 second.
Okay. Creepy past.
Okay, so
Hmm?
there's about 3/5 of an AU between us and Michael Jackson's last imprint.
What is AUs?
Astronomical units.
Okay.
So astronomical units are I believe 1 AU equals like distance traveled in a year, right?
Yeah.
So no, actually, I'm sorry. I missed a zero. So that's 1, 2, hold on. We'll ballpark it at 60. So there's 60 AU. There's 60 light years between us and Michael Jackson's last impression.
Ah,
That's the
years.
problem. That's the problem that I'm talking about here. Cuz like if you could, cuz technically you could. Technically this is the most possible thing that we've talked about, right? Because some nerds in Australia actually did make a particle time travel, right? So
Oh.
like you could maybe in the future like have a peephole into the past, right? Like you could
Yeah.
look, right? You could maybe collect data, right? So if you could do that, the problem is that we wouldn't be able to really collect data on anything super important because like I said, we're traveling through space and
I
not just spinning around our sun, but our star system is traveling something like 450,000 miles per hour.
So one thing now that we're speaking about this, well, I guess it will work to see who did a crime, for example, stuff like that. But nothing like the example I gave of reviving Michael Jackson. But I was thinking, will this apply to see the future?
I don't think so.
The future even exists, or is something that doesn't theoretically
It's
exist?
it's more it's more that by observing a thing you change a thing, right? So like on the particle level, right? By observing something you've changed the outcome, right? So like when you're trying to look at the smallest things that make up existence, you have to like be able to see it, right? So
Yeah.
then you shine light on it and you go, "Oh fuck, well all this light has pushed everything out of the way." So,
Just in case you
you
want to read the
know,
chat or something.
say
Mm,
again?
oh, this is in case you want to read the chat or something because someone is
Oh,
saying,
okay, thanks.
someone said astronomical unit. It's about 8.3 like minutes each, and AU is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Could you correct him on what an AU is? Is that true?
It could be.
Maybe. Well, but I guess the point still works. So
Yeah, like it's like sorry if I'm wrong on that, but the point still stands.
yeah,
Where you want to look isn't on Earth. If you're going to go back in time, where you want to look is not on Earth. So then you'd have to figure out you'd have to have a machine to figure out where the thing like I guess that would be easy enough, but the problem is that the farther you go back, the farther away it is, the harder it is to see the thing. That's what I'm getting at. So like, even if, man, how would you do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like you'd have to have. I guess you would have to. I guess you could technically have a ship flying around in space, right? And that ship could be in the local area that you want to scan, but because we're orbiting the star that's moving, and the star that's moving is what's taking us along for the ride, right? There'd be this weird kind of ellipses in space
Hmm.
that you would have to plot and be on in order to, like, quotes, be where the Earth was, right? So like if you were to time travel, all time travelers would be in a spaceship, right? And
Yeah.
then they travel back in time, and then the Earth would be there, and then they could scan it.
Hmm. Well, while you were talking, I was investigating about another factor because, like, we are talking about this based on what is currently known. So there's this thing called LK99 that at the end it was like not fake, but it was like disappointing because the first studies say that it was like the most powerful thing that produces an insane amount of energy.
What
They thought it was a room temperature superconductor. Do you know what that is? Or that means?
room temperature superconductor would be probably one of those things like I don't know, discovering steam power, right? Like, or not discovering steam power. Let me take that back. Um Figuring out how to make a steam engine that can recycle steam, which we did, right, a long time ago, and figuring out how to machine everything, because that's what, like, accurate, consistent, repeatable machining is, like, how we got there. It would be along the same level of that, right? Suddenly now we can do things with this steam engine that we couldn't do before. We can make it smaller. We can build it into different things, etc. Like that's what room temperature, that's what room temperature superconductors would do. Because what um a lot of what goes into using them is just spent electricity and cooling the thing so it can, levitate, right? Because normally when we're talking about superconductors, we're talking about making magnets
Hmm.
do stuff, do wacky stuff.
So that's the thing. I know the discovery of something like that could be like probably the best. Well, maybe worse depending on who uses it, but it could be at the same time the best. You thing that humanity finds. In this case, it was not really that. The first studies were wrong. Apparently, they checked again, and it was just a simple thing, a simple material. Do you think at the future, at some point, something like that will be discovered? Something that basically has a level of energy that, because from what I know, if the LK99 was really as powerful as people expected, um, like you could have a phone that never runs over that never runs over on battery. You could.
Well,
Hmm?
we have we have the technology, and when it's proven and there's a patent for it. I'm trying to remember what the hell it's called. Um, there is a there is a type of crystal, I think is what it was is
Yeah,
what it was.
I
Keep in mind it's been a few years since I read about this.
been like 10 years
There's a
since I
type
read about that. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, allegedly there's a type of crystal that when you hit it with radiation, it creates an extremely, extremely low voltage electric output. Like, it's insignificant. It is tiny. Um, if we could figure a way to scale that up, then yeah, that would be the infinite battery. But your infinite battery would be more like, um, here's a device that you plug into a system that's going to be a very, very trickle charge always. So it'll extend the life of a battery as opposed to making it infinite, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, just as an example, let's say you could let's say you could have something the size of, I don't know, a soda can, right?
Yeah.
And that thing that's the size of the soda can, that device can charge a nominal like 2.9 volts, right? That 2.9 volts actually really sucks. And when you scale that up through what would that be, a rectifier? No, I think it's a rectifier. But when you use other electronics to scale that up to a useful volt that you could charge, you're gonna lose amps, right? And that's not gonna charge very much, right? Like that'll be a very, 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 very slow charge. Like if you plugged an iPhone into it, it'd be something like, oh, you will have full battery in a day, right?
Yeah.
But that's fine because you don't have to plug it into anything. So like let's say if you were just, walking around and you had this thing plugged in, as long as you're not using it, right? Then it's at the very least you're not going to lose battery about it, right? Through just regular use. But again, like that was a long ass time ago. I think it was 2023 that I read about this thing.
Wasn't it nuclear? Like the nuclear car concept?
No, the nuclear car concept's different. This is like nuclear power is normally like the history of technological advancement when you're talking about human beings, it always roughly grinds down to boiling water, right? Like, oh, you better not piss me off. I'm gonna boil some water, right? And that's basically what the UK did to China, right? The first opium war. They boiled a lot of fucking water in the form of sending a bunch of steamships to go blockade and bombard, etc., right? So first we used wood, right, to boil some stuff, then coal to boil some stuff, right? Then we used gas to boil some stuff, right? Oh man, we're getting some real hot temperatures. We're really going now. Then we used the heat from I guess refined, enriched. That's the word for it. Enriched fissile material, right? Because a lot of heat. You put water on it, we boil some stuff, right? So normally when people are talking about nuclear powered anything, ultimately you're talking about making a turbine, right? And you're using the nuclear power as a heat source to then boil water or move air or create steam, right? And all of these are problematic in different ways. Like steam reactors aren't very good because boy are they dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Water reactors aren't good because boy are they heavy. But like now I'm gonna have to look it up because I fucking want to know. I want to know what the material was they were talking about. But yeah, like having something that just gives you electricity from reacting with radiation would be fantastic because you now don't need water, right? You don't need some kind of liquid to push through a turbine because heat and boiling.
But okay, I'm confused about one thing. Like, how is it related to the other thing?
Sorry for the tangent. So
Don't worry.
what I'm saying is that the point of it was theoretically it's possible to travel near light speed. However, it's nowhere near practical because you need all this electricity. Theoretically, it's possible to freeze somebody and then bring them back to life, but we have the gap in technology that we have the gap in energy, right? And
Well,
that's it's that big.
you see, I've seen in the news like years ago that they made an artificial sun in China. So what if they just make
I
like?
wouldn't believe it.
Do you think it's fake?
I wouldn't believe it. Like I don't like you have to have some outside source. Like unfortunately when it comes to any announcements, any technological announcements in China, you have to really take it with a grain of salt because at best it's overly optimistic. Like you could technically say that you created a micro sun, right? Just because you figured out fusion.
Well, I think it's not literally a sun, but it's just called like that. It says it's an experimental nuclear fusion reactor designed to replicate the sun's
Yep.
natural energy production.
Yep.
Achieve
Yep.
record-breaking performance, sustaining plasma temperatures. So you think this could be perfectly fake, like all of this?
It could be an overestimation, right? So like there's also two things. There's two ways to look at this, right?
Yep.
So Could they have started a fusion reaction? Sure. But the real problem with fusion reactors is that you want them to be energy positive, right? So
Yeah.
you want more electricity out of the reactor than you have to put into it to keep it running. And
Mhm.
that's the thing that's the holy grail. I think there are only the last time I checked, there were only 2 firms that got a positive out of nuclear fusion so far, and it's not positive by much, right? Just a little bit, right? And that's kind of where we are at with fusion right now. But there are people in the energy sector that are working really hard to get fusion reactors to be a thing, and that'd be cool, right? But the joke being, what kind of pushback are people going to give? Because right now, as we sit and talk about it, we still don't have nuclear reactors being our base level of electricity, which we probably should at this point. Like they're not as dangerous as people think. Or sorry, they're not as dangerous as some people make them out to be, and the amount of waste that you have for energy produced is microscopic.
But not even if they made like millions, billions, or like whatever amount fits in the earth of those. Not even that
Of
will
what?
be of the, I think it's called just a nuclear reactor.
Oh, right. You mean fusion reaction? No, we
Fusion, yeah.
like so we need an appreciable percentage of the sun's total output to get to the speed of light. Technically, like if you just do the
That's
math, right? How fast do you need to? So the sun's really big. So like if we getting all the sci-fi stuff out of the way, right? Antimatter is a thing. Like whether or not you call it that, whether or not you want to define it as that, right? Because like
from
names are names,
Futurama.
names are names, right? Until we
Yeah.
actually like dark matter is a name. We actually don't know what dark matter is. Okay, like we have no idea. We just put a placeholder because we witnessed some weird things happening, and we said, well, dark matter, right? Because that's the answer for that, right?
Wait, quick
But
question. You're a
go
big
ahead,
fan of the Big Bang Theory, right?
say again.
You're a big fan of the Big Bang Theory, right?
If the Big Bang Theory happened, which it looks like it did,
No, no, the
right?
show, the show. You're a fan of it?
I haven't watched it in. I'm not really a fan of it. Like, I've got hot takes about it.
Oh, that's interesting. I
What,
thought you were like
like,
the number one fan of that. I used to be, but I was like too young to remember the plot.
yeah, I've seen a few episodes of it. Some of it's funny, but a lot of it is like, a lot of it's cringe because it's like, oh yeah, this is what the super brilliant nerdy people act like and think and talk about, right? It's like, no, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's like what, because I've hung out with scientists, engineers, and shit, and in my age group, and that's not kind of hijinks we get up to, right?
Yeah.
But jokes aside, right? It just looks like imagine if somebody made a show about gamers, right? And they made the show about gamers not from the point of view of gamers, but from what they think gamers are.
That
That's what the
already
Big Bang
happened.
Theory.
Yeah, that already happened.
Oh, go on.
Well, it's in, I think it's Nickelodeon. I don't know if it was Game Shakers or it was another one. I don't know the name. But well, you could even see it on iCarly. They don't know what gamers are really, and they still try to portray it.
What was it as cringe as I think it would be? Was it cringe? Because it's
Yeah,
probably cringe.
I mean, they had Fred, the YouTuber, and they didn't even know how to represent him correctly. Like they,
Cool.
they literally made him delete his whole channel just because one of the iCarly characters insulted him in a comment.
Oh, okay.
And the whole episode is kind of like stereotypes of YouTubers, but that's like in the early times of YouTubers.
Yeah, that's cringe.
I mean, yeah, it is anything coming from Nickelodeon from those times that tries to be related to young trends. But okay, back to the topic. I wanted to know. Let's suppose, hypothetically, how much energy the Earth or everything at the Earth could generate, or even what if humans go to Mars to to produce energy in Mars as well? Like, cool.
It's theoretically. Man, I think we need more than gigajoules, or we'd need gigajoules and like to the power of whatever. But like the thing is that just to again,
I mean, the thing. So, what percentage of the sun would it be? Like, that's, I guess, more an approximation that people will understand more.
holy crap! One second. So like just to this is a and this is just the AI overview. So please take this with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not snatching this from NASA's website or some, but the the sun converts 4.26 million metric tons of mass into energy per second. So just imagine shit, man. Like imagine 4 million. Okay, let me find something like because I'm an American, right? You know, we don't like using we like using elephants in football stadiums, right?
But we don't use,
Um,
from where I am, we use centimeters. We use the same as the Canada. Everything.
uh,
I mean, when I publish my merge, I put it on centimeters. I think, like, everything I do is in centimeters or meters. Well, in this case, I guess it's a different measurement. But like,
I'm tr-
hmm?
I'm trying to find something that's that heavy to like give you an example of how much stuff that is because it's a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's easy.
That's
You
a
say what percentage of the song it will be, like 10% of the song or 200% maybe.
no, it'll like it's not even an appreciable like 4 million metric tons isn't like it's not even like it's like 0.000 going for like 10 minutes a percent of the sun's total mass. Like the sun is big. The sun is really big. And that's why I'm saying like we'll never like unless we figure out how to create stably create and hold on to antimatter, we will never be able to produce a percentage of the power of our sun.
No, not
Like
even like, not
it's not
even a
possible.
number that is easy to pronounce, like 0.00001.
No, like it'd be like 0 to the power of like 30 or something
Yeah, with
1%.
30 zeros and then one or something like that. I
Yeah,
guess.
would be like and again, I'm pulling out of my ass because the sun is freaking huge, right? Like it was funny because we actually discovered that the sun's got to work some other way because some brainiacs thought, wait a minute, the sun's just a big burning ball in the sky, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like that can't be like because some people were using this to figure out how old the sun is, right? Like how old can it be really, right? So they said, oh well, the sun's this big, so if it was all coal, it would only burn for a couple hundred years. What the fuck, right? And that's how we figured out something's really fucky because it's still burning, and the
It's
sun, we have archaeological records that we
with
had a sun like thousands of
millions of
years
years,
ago.
yeah,
So
or millions, no?
well, history. Like I'm saying, like written history. So like the Egyptians said there was a sun, right? So as old as the Egyptians are, we've had the sun. So clearly, this sun isn't made of coal, right? So that's the whole nuclear fusion, fission, whatever thing.
Yeah, but it could be
That
even
like
more because in order for some creatures to exist, there should be a sun.
oh yeah, no. So the sun, yeah, the sun's been around. The sun's been around for hundreds, probably of millions of fucking years. The sun's old, right? So like, it's not like it's the amount of mass it burns off in a day is nothing compared to how much mass it has in total is what I'm getting at. So like the we'll never ever, right? Like we will never be able to make like star power other than creating a star its relative size
Oh,
outside of antimatter.
well, let's say I found the solution to every problem in humanity. Why not just getting energy from the sun? Okay, no. But what about that as a concept?
It's a Dyson sphere. The problem with the Dyson sphere is you would need several star systems of metallocity to like create a Dyson sphere, which it's not. It's totally possible, right? Like if we become spacefaring, we could do it over, you know, a few thousand years. We could collect enough materials and make panels and surround the sun with it, right? And then we'd be sucking it from the tap, a very much appreciable percentage of the star's output.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing we could do, right? But that would take a lot of metal. You know, it would take a lot of material, a lot.
Okay, what don't you think those things could like happen faster if let's say the human brain is completely deciphered, I think is the word, or like I don't know if that's unencrypted, let's say, like completely discovered and understood, and then they find a way to make humans that are incredibly smart. Do you think they will be able to like discover more things and do like scientific advances a lot faster?
I I think I I think that understanding how things work is kind of how we advance,
Yeah,
right?
and
Just
wanting
like
to
with the
advance.
sun, once we realized the sun isn't just burning coal, right? We went, "Oh, well then what possibly could it be?" And then, you know, we had Einstein come along and say, "This is how it works," right? Um like when we understand things on the more fundamental level of our existence, we jump forward in technology, right? So like with qubits, for instance, in quantum computers, for the longest time, um, there was a non-trivial portion of the scientific community that was like, that's bullshit,
Yeah,
right? Quantum theory is ass, right? That doesn't exist. But here we have computers now that rode on the backs of people who kept at it, right?
yeah.
Who figured out how superposition actually works and how to make useful work out of this information. That's really where we get technological advancement from when we discover something new that's fundamental, right?
Yeah.
So in that, I think the quickest way to advance technology, I think the quickest way to advance technology is to find a way to discover more problems. And not problems like, you know, world hunger and shit like that. I mean problems like we go out into space and we go to a another rocky body and we see something on that rocky body that we've never seen before. Like, what the hell is this, right? And normally through the process of trying to define something, you know, why the hell does this work? What is this thing exactly? Because it's not in any of the states of matter we know. It's in another state of matter, right? Then we
Yeah.
go, oh shit, there's this new thing that's not plasma. There's this new thing that's not, and now we have this whole section of technological advancement that's going to spread from that.
Hmm.
Because, like, for instance, we don't know how gravity works. We don't. We don't know how gravity works. We have a big, like, massive, well, maybe not massive for us, like data set of what gravity does, but we don't know how it works, right? We think we know how it works,
Just
but
the
we really don't know
concept.
how it works.
I guess we have the concept, but from what we see, and not exactly from seeing what is happening on the center of the earth. That's like even
Yeah,
harder than knowing how brains work because there's
yeah,
only
it
one.
could. We don't. It could. We don't know, right? We don't actually know if discovering, like, that's kind of the problem. That's kind of the problem with doing research on one thing in particular. The downside is that you're making a lot of discoveries that aren't important to you, so you put them in a closet somewhere and you let them sit, right? So
Yeah,
like someone doing research in radiology may have found the cure for cancer, but they don't give a fuck because they're trying to go faster. So they're trying to find a way to make more energy, right? So that cancer
yeah,
solution, just as an example, this isn't a real example. This is, you know, hyperbole.
yeah. I get what you mean.
All,
Or when they make a medicine, they end up discovering a totally different medicine.
yep, exactly. So if we just go out for the sheer sake of exploration, right? Like, here's another one: dark energy, dark matter. If we figure out what the fuck dark energy and dark matter is, or give an answer to the things that we see happening out in space, if we find answers to this, this will give us a mountain of fundamental knowledge of the fabric of reality, right? That would be a massive amount of technological advancement.
I guess.
Like
But
that's what. Oh, go ahead.
the only actual conclusion is that humanity is right now so science is so young and humanity doesn't care enough about science that I guess many what's the name? I guess those things will just stay theoretical for like centuries, some of them thousands of years.
Who knows? Because the problem is that we everything we do right now, and when I say do, I mean like on a grand scale, right? Because in order to get these things done, they're hard. These are really hard problems, right? These are hard problems that will take a combined effort, right?
Yeah.
Like a percentage of the entire planet's effort to get to them, right? Um, we are the only things that we spend that kind of time, money, and effort on is like the price of oil and energy. That's what we care about, right? Like, and as
Donald
far as
Trump
we
joins the
care about, I
chat.
mean, say again.
Donald Trump joins the chat
Oh,
because oil was mentioned. No, you're kidding. No, there's no Donald Trump
oh,
in chat.
oh, okay. Um,
What were you saying?
and oh yeah, and but that's I count oil in defense spending. Like we really don't like as far as America. Like if we're just gonna take America as an example, if we, I know it's gonna sound like a lot of money, right? I know it's gonna sound like a lot of money, but what is it? Something like $15 billion, right? $15 billion would solve healthcare in America. 15 billion a year. I know it sounds like a lot. I know it sounds like a lot, right? But like absolutely the best and equal healthcare for every single American citizen, period, across the board, right? That's like a mouse fart in the eye of what we spend on some things, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's dumb. Like I don't remember how much, I don't remember how many billions was thrown on the fire of the F-35 program, but that would have kept healthcare going strong for 10, 20 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we would take that and focus it on something like space exploration, just as an example, right? Like, let's say if people wanted to be rich, right? Let's say there was one person that wants to be rich. And that's why I think Elon Musk is trying to go to Mars. I'm holding up air quotes when I say this. Out in the asteroid belt, in this star system, there is an asteroid that appears to be primarily made of gold.
Yeah.
A Scrooge McDuck rock is floating around in our star system. If you really want money, if you really want to flex on all these other nerds who thinks they're rich, figure out spaceships, get a spaceship out there, drag a portion of that rock back, drop that rock somewhere safe, and laugh your way to the bank. Right? Like that's what makes me kind of, and oh, you're gonna make the cost of gold crash. No, we're gonna make gold a basic material, right? We're gonna make it so that instead of having copper wires, we're now gonna have gold wires, right? And because they're made out of gold, gold has more conductive, has better conductive properties, you know, all kinds of shit, right? You know, we use gold in industry, in many industries, to make shit faster and better and longer lasting, because gold's now more of a fundamental material that we can just fuck with, right? Technology go up. It's the same thing with diamonds, right? We can just make diamonds now. Nobody talks about it. There's literally a company, their whole social media campaign is just to like prove that they can make diamonds just as good as natural ones and freaking 10 times larger, right? But now that we have diamonds, De Beers wants to keep the price up because, of course, their whole thing is diamonds are forever and all that crap that they sell to people, so they buy diamonds and so the value stays up, right? Like if diamonds were like copper, right? Like that means that anything that's a wear item can now become diamond plated, right? Or diamond covered or whatever. Diamond tip drills. All this crap would last forever. We'd be able to do a lot more work with it. It would make cutting almost anything that much easier, right? Imagine if you had windshields made out of diamond. Just not like I don't know how feasible that is. Like keep that in mind. But just, you know, if you had a windshield made out of diamond, you know, you would never have to worry about like bird strikes in aircraft, right? Killing the crew because they wouldn't.
But at this
Just be
point,
Oh, well, I guess that was a bird.
wait, but at this point, wouldn't it be like more often? Like, don't you think that diamond, gold, and stuff like that will just suddenly at some point become a lot more common because there's that golden asteroid, there's that diamond receipt, let's say.
Diamonds will get to a point where um the problem is that if you have private interest of any kind saying no, don't change that because we're making money, right? It's in their best interest to lobby, to pay people, to do all that crap to make it so that the cost of diamonds stays up, and while the cost of diamonds stay up, this technology becomes available to less and less people, and this technology becomes less available to, like, it's why like I'll just for 3D printing, right?
Yeah.
There's a company that makes diamond drill bits for drilling oil. I paid attention to them for a long time because I worked in oil. They made it to where now I almost like any drilling company that's a serious company now uses their bits, right? They also decided to make 3D printer nozzles. They sell 3D printer nozzles that will never fail, but they're $100 a piece.
So I guess if you get if I get like any 3D printer, the one you have, the one you recommended, those could be like fail sometimes when I try to print stuff.
Oh, you'll like when you 3D printers fail for a bunch of different reasons. I could go over that with you if you want, but there are things that I teach people to do before they really start printing stuff that reduces the chance of failure. So like heat tuning your hotbed and your extruder, setting the right E steps,
Wait,
setting the right expansion rates.
sorry for interrupting, but don't you think the 3D printers will go higher in price the same way RAMs and other pieces are getting up in price?
No, what's going to make I hate to say it, and it really sucks. Get your 3D printer while you can. California right now is trying to regulate 3D printing, and I've told this to people, and they go, "Ah, ha, ha, that doesn't matter. I'm in Germany." I'm like, "It does matter, right?" And people don't get it because California is the 5th largest economy on the planet, right? 5th largest economy by itself on the planet. That means we have a lot of people here that are going to buy stuff. So I've seen it happen in other industries, right?
Yeah.
Where California makes a change. Now everybody has to use the California shit because it's too expensive to make 2 separate lines, to make one for California and one not for California. So I would say hurry and get a 3D printer sooner than later if you're going to get one. I myself have ordered a bunch of parts for 3D printers, the brain, because that's the most important part. They want to change the firmware so that you have to have a handshake with a server somewhere that says, okay, this isn't a gun.
Okay, when
right?
I get my AdSense money, the first thing I'm gonna do is to get that, because that's the thing, waiting for AdSense to actually give me the money, because it's like stuck. There's like
Yeah,
more
it
than
takes a
200.
while.
You also monetize on AdSense at some point?
Say again?
Do you know about AdSense? Like, you used it before?
I know a little bit about AdSense from all the people that I know that stream.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
AdSense.
I
need to change the country, because I mean, if I put my country, it's like 30% of fees. So I put a country from a family, from a sibling that is outside, in a place where that doesn't happen.
Fair enough.
The problem, I don't know if you know about this, related, but like the what's the name, the payment, the test payment that tells you an amount and I have to introduce an amount. That's like, it never arrives. But in the YouTube side, they say that it arrives. But in the bank, I don't see it arrives. The bank just says, well, the bank is not being clear, but like, we're gonna talk with the bank later about it. Are you familiar with something like that?
Yeah. There are a lot of payment tools that need to link to an account, and they'll throw an amount in the bank to verify that you got it, right? Like, and they do it that way, kind of to cover their own butts and to cover yours to make sure it's going to the right place. So yeah, I'm familiar. Like, I'm absolutely familiar with that as a process. It's really annoying.
Eh, well, I guess it will arrive at some point, and if not, I just talk with the bank. And if the bank says there's nothing, and Google says there's something, and then I go again to the bank and they say there's nothing, and then I go back to Google and they say there's something. That's like the whole. That's like the whole thing. Well, I guess
Ugh.
I'm gonna see what happens with it. I can still try with like opening other banks in that case if I see this one doesn't work because it's like not exactly checking or savings, but it's something called root account. But it's, I think exclusive from Chile. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. I'm not sure how it works out of country, out of the U.S. Sorry, I'm not sure how it works out of the U.S. I know that there's a whack load of regulations and stuff. Like I really hate. It's one of the reasons why I really hate having to buy something directly from a factory or somebody outside of the country, because then you find out all the crap that goes down, that has to go down for you to get what it is you just bought.
Uh,
Like that's why sites like Temu and Amazon are really popular, because you don't have to deal with any of that.
oh, I use AliExpress for that. I got like 10 $1 Rubik's cubes that normally cost a lot more with a lot of accounts. I hope you're not like an FBI that knows and reports me. That
Hee-hoo.
oh no. Oh my god. Well, conclusion. Well, two conclusions. First, humanity doesn't care about improving, so we won't see too much in really big technological advances the next probably generations. Like we will see big things, but not like really significant for how big the universe. Second conclusion. Wait, what happened with my face? Second conclusion. What was the second conclusion? Yeah, buying AliExpress, but do it with all the Gmails that you used your whole life. No, don't do that for legal reasons, Ayuk. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go to sleep. I've been streaming like I think 13 hours. I kinda lost the.
Holy cow.
Oh well, like I've seen people streaming a lot longer, and I'm like, how you don't feel anxious for streaming too long, or how you don't feel mental pain? And they're like, I just don't feel it. I guess I'm getting used to it longer. That's what. Well, yeah, go have been saying. I guess you're like you don't use your channel, but like you appear on other people's channels, no? Like,
Yeah.
haven't you talked about uploading your participations in other channels in your channel? So
Nope.
like no, not in like a podcast or something. You'll be really good at
No.
podcast. But I guess it's not your
I'm
thing.
happy. I'm happy. I've been on people's podcasts before, but I like normally there's heads up, and whatever it is they want me to talk about or whatever it is they think is going to be the topic, I normally do a bit of research and note taking and shit like that, so I can actually participate more so than, because like what happens, especially back in like the 2000 teens, people were really combative,
Yeah.
and every podcast was like a debate, and the
Ugh.
problem is that winning an argument doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you like, debates used to be about trying to find out a right answer. Now debates are just about, like, fucking Twitter clout,
Yeah,
right? Like it's
I try to not fall on that. Like I try to not do that at all. I don't think I had any like planned debate really. I mean, we only had one of who had more jobs between Mario and Barbie, but like I don't think that really counts. Mm, so I
yeah,
guess
no, it's more like, I mean, I wouldn't figure your stuff would be like that, but it's more like, as a for instance, if I had some pre-knowledge to what it was going to, whatever it is was going to be about, or like for instance, you'd ask me a couple of questions about what was the thing you were making,
what a call.
where in universe Chungu was going to be a cop.
Ah, yeah, the book that's published already.
Right. So like I would, having that information, right, I would go through and make, a list of, what I would say if what for script. You dig?
Yeah. So you like to
Like
be
that's
like you like to show your knowledge or creativity ideas. You don't necessarily
no.
have to.
I'm more like to not waffle and waste time, especially if somebody asks me a question about something. I'd rather have more accurate information to give them because it's like there's nothing worse than I tell somebody a thing, they go do the thing and they come back like, "Hey bro, it didn't work." Right? And I'm like, "Okay."
Hmm. Well, I don't know. I was like a bit problematic when I started as Ponta. I was still like very young, but like it was just thankfully just like simple discussions or things that weren't like too bad. But there was this dude that had like 100,000 subscribers. It was like, hey, do you want to come to an episode of the podcast? Because like we talked before. But then he suddenly says, okay, if we talk about socialism, I mean, so like I was asking a bit, respecting completely his opinion and not like being disrespectful anytime. And then suddenly he got like, he started saying that, well, some things about certain stuff that is like really bad, but like he was taking like 40 minutes typing. And that moment I said, wait, this person wants to argue. So I just blocked them, like without
Yeah.
even arguing at all. That's a healthy thing to do. Like and I don't want a podcast episode that is like conflict, unless it's like someone puts me in a trouble and I need to respond or something. But that hasn't happened in. It only happened once really recently, but it was like the most basic thing, the most light type of problem.
Yep, fair enough.
Mm,
Okay, anyways,
yeah.
go to sleep.
Oh, true. Yeah, yeah. You're in the chat. Okay, people, chat. Kapan, I'm gonna go to sleep. If we want, we can talk about these topics more, like developedly. And so yeah, I guess you have to continue working now.
Yeah.
All right, you have fun. It was cool to share your knowledge and to talk with you. So see you.
Bye.
Bye. And for the chat, goodbye everyone. I can't wait to hear more of this comment. Yeah, normal time. Well, to be fair, I asked about in a normal time, but he was working. Then he got a free time. But to be fair, I knew that if I had that conversation, I was gonna end the stream because I wanna. I was. He said some minutes, so I was like, okay, when I die on the game, I won't want to do another attempt because the conversation with him gets so interesting. So like, in a way, I think that helped. So good night, good morning for Chris. I don't know about Meshamu because her sleeping schedule is even worse than mine. I think, or maybe not. I don't know. And see you, everyone. I hope you have fun and through dreams. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year.